on DC News Now at 4.
Two P words, performative and punitive.
Washingtonians up in arms over a new effort to take away DC's home rule, what the loss could mean for local government affairs.
Well, we are tracking a wintry mess as we head through your Saturday. Keep it here. We'll break down this forecast up next.
Also, a surge of flu cases hit Prince George's County. What families need to know.
Plus, a desperate search for a missing plane that just disappeared off the Alaskan coast. Those details ahead next.
And still trying to figure out what to bring to your big game party on Sunday. We're tracking food prices ahead of kickoff.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
And thank you for joining us for DC News Now at 4. I'm Mark Hall.
And I'm Randy Bass, in for Annalisa Gale. This afternoon, we take a live look over the National Cathedral on this Friday, with all eyes on the wintry weekend forecast ahead.
Unfortunately, Randy, the nice weather we're seeing right now will not last long. Meteorologist Brittany Ward is in for Damon Matson.
And Brittany, it's a repeat of what we saw earlier this week with another wintry mix moving into the area.
Yeah, so I would say definitely enjoy your Friday night. It will be dry as we head through the rest of your evening. It's tomorrow. That's when we finally start to see that wintry mix work its way back into the area. So satellite and radar are showing you, yes, we are seeing a few clouds at this hour. That storm system off to the west, that will begin to inch its way closer as we head through the day tomorrow. But temperature is not looking bad. We're sitting at 53 degrees in the nation's capital, 54 as you head over there to Fredericksburg, Virginia. Still cooler back off to the north and west. You're sitting at 44 degrees right now in Hagerstown. For the rest of your evening, we'll start to see a few clouds begin to roll their way in. Temperatures slowly begin to dip in the lower 40s as we head right around that 8 o'clock, and then upper 30s right around 10 o'clock this evening. And then again, all eyes are on the weekend. That storm system will begin to push through as we head through your day on Saturday. That's going to be providing us with some sleet as well as some freezing rain across the area. The good news is the storm system will be rolling out as we head through the end of the weekend, but then we are tracking more wintry weather as we head into that 7 days. So keep it here. We'll have a full breakdown of your weekend forecast, what to expect, and we'll talk more about that 7-day coming up.
Brittany, thank you. And when we're not on air, you can keep track of the winter storm by scanning the QR code on your screen. It's going to take you directly to our weather page on DCNewsNow.com, or just go to DCNewsNow.com/weather. Well, in the district, a renewed attempt to repeal DC's home rule. Two Republican congressmen reintroducing the Bowser Act, again this session.
Yes, and the bill would revoke the district's ability to govern itself. DC News Now's Marielle Carbone joins us live downtown. And Marielle, this isn't really a new effort, but some say it's more concerning this time around.
Yeah, Randy, and that is because we have a Republican-controlled Congress, White House, and Supreme Court. But local officials that we've spoken to today, and they say that they will continue to push and ensure that D.C. continues to have its local autonomy.
Two P words, performative and punitive.
For lifelong Washingtonian and ANC Commissioner Tiffany Nicole Johnson, the latest attempt to revoke D.C. home rule is frustrating.
They get us all in an uproar, all in a tizzy. We start focusing on this, taking away from what really matters to D.C. residents such as myself.
And Johnson says home rule is paramount for D.C. residents.
People forget D.C. has like 700,000 actual residents, born and raised, who live here.
And without it, critical D.C. programs are in jeopardy.
The summer youth employment program that Mayor Barry started, of which I'm a graduate of.
This week, Utah Senator Mike Lee and Tennessee Representative Andy Ogles reintroduced the Bowser Act, or the Bringing Oversight to Washington and Safety to Every Resident Act, which would repeal home rule and give Congress control of the city. Ogles writing in a statement, Bowser and a corrupt Washington City Council are incapable of managing the city. He and Lee pointing specifically to the indictment of Trayon White and, quote, repeated armed carjackings. Earlier this week, D.C. Council ousted White through its city code, and violent crime is down 27% year to date.
It's not time to hide or hope that Trump doesn't do the wrong thing.
D.C. Shadow Representative Oye Awalewa says he and other elected officials will continue to fight for D.C. statehood.
D.C. residents want to be treated like anybody else. We don't want special powers. We don't want to have anything more than our friends in Maryland, Virginia.
And obviously this legislation named after Mayor Muriel Bowser, we reached out to her office for comment, but they declined to provide any for this story. Reporting live from the Capitol, I'm Marielle Carbone, DC News Now.
Marielle, thank you. New for Amazon will have to pay close to $4 million to the district as part of a settlement. D.C.'s Attorney General announced that today. The AG alleges the company stole tips meant for local Amazon Flex delivery drivers. That service launched in 2015 and assured customers that 100% of tips would go right to drivers, even after the policy changed a year later. The FTC already forced Amazon to reimburse drivers for their tips, but with this lawsuit, Amazon will also pay the district back.
Well, happening right now, thousands of employees for the U.S. Agency for International Development forced to go on leave. DC News Now's Liberty Simmons is live outside of the USAID headquarters in Northwest with more on the president's efforts to dismantle the government.
Well, Mark, the signs have come down or have been covered up here, and many people have been leaving behind flowers outside the Washington headquarters of USAID as thousands of employees lose their jobs.
I can't comment.
In D.C. Friday, the signs for the U.S. Agency for International Development were being covered up with black tape.
And I truly believe in the work that USAID does as an organization in terms of saving lives, in terms of improving development, in terms of spreading the democratic values around the world.
At least 8,000 USAID employees and contractors are being placed on forced leave. Fewer than 300 employees are expected to remain.
I didn't have any more leave left over because I had used it for my maternity leave, so I have no payout that maybe others might have a small amount to get, but I'm essentially left with just nothing.
The move after hundreds rallied at the U.S. Capitol Wednesday demanding the agency be left alone.
So it has nothing to do with government efficiency and everything to do with something that's going to harm our national interests.
USAID has become a target of the Trump administration and the Elon Musk-led Department of Government Efficiency. Secretary of State Marco Rubio addressed reporters in Guatemala saying the Trump administration is making tweaks to ensure programs like USAID are aligned with U.S. national interests.
And those that do not will not continue.
And USAID workers posted overseas have 30 days to return to the U.S. to have their travel and moving costs paid for. Otherwise, they might have to cover their own expenses. For now, live here in Northwest D.C., Liberty Simmons, D.C. News Now.
All right, Liberty, thank you. It's not just USAID being targeted. This morning, Democratic members of Congress were denied entry to the Department of Education building. They were there to speak out against President Trump's plan to abolish it, but the doors were locked, and Congress members could be seen having tense interactions with security guards.
Where's your badge? Where's your badge?
They want to close the Department of Education. They want to cut back on funding for low-income areas through Title I. They want to eliminate Head Start. They want to cut back on school lunches, cut back on access to college. And we're going to make sure that they recognize that that has to go through Congress and through our committee.
President Trump alone cannot get rid of the Department of Education. He needs congressional approval.
And turning to Virginia, where Governor Glenn Youngkin is firing back against a decision by the Virginia High School League regarding trans athletes. The VHSL announced it will not follow President Trump's executive order banning transgender athletes from playing on women's sports teams. Trump says the order will protect girls and women and give them equal opportunity to compete, while trans advocates say the order harms transgender athletes. On X, Governor Youngkin posted in part saying biological boys should not be competing against girls. This is just common sense, end quote.
In Fairfax County, an elementary school teacher is under arrest after police say he sexually assaulted 2 of his students. John Barger worked at Fairview Elementary School in Fairfax Station. He's being held without bond on 2 counts of aggravated sexual battery. 47-year-old has worked as an FCPS teacher since 2017. He's now on administrative leave, and police would like to speak with anyone who may have information about this case.
A pair of armed robbery suspects are wanted in Montgomery County. You can see them in this surveillance footage. Take a look. This was in Silver Spring back on December 23rd. Police say the suspects robbed someone at gunpoint as they were walking back to their apartment on Stewart Lane. You are asked to give Montgomery County Police a call if you recognize either of them.
A heads up for Metro riders, there will be track work tomorrow and Sunday that could impact your weekend plans. The Red Line will be single tracking from Friendship Heights to Medical Center. Orange and Silver Lines will also single track from Federal Center Southwest to Eastern Market. There's modified service on the Blue Line too.
Happening right now, a desperate search is underway for a missing small plane last seen off the coast of Alaska.
A Cessna with 10 people on board was en route yesterday from Unalakleet to Nome. That's a remote part of western Alaska. Well, the plane was operated by Bering Air, and officials say that it was 12 miles offshore when it lost signal. The Coast Guard and Air Force are conducting aerial searches, but poor weather and visibility are making it difficult. This incident comes as U.S. air safety faces scrutiny after several recent crashes, including the one over the Potomac. Meanwhile, we're learning that salvage crews from that crash near DCA will now move their focus to clearing smaller debris.
Yes, officials told senators in a briefing yesterday that the Black Hawk helicopter's location transmission system was turned off. Senators also condemning the country's aging air traffic control infrastructure.
NTSB investigators now able to get a better look at that helicopter and the plane. This new video shows the massive wreckage sitting inside a hangar at Reagan National Airport. That investigation underway as criticism of the country's air traffic control system ramps up in the wake of the crash. Senator Ted Cruz yesterday.
Traffic control technology is from the 1950s. We are literally using radar and strips of paper and floppy disks.
Keith Mackey is a helicopter pilot and retired airline captain. He says he's flown into DCA about 1,000 times, and he expects investigators to uncover more about what was going on in DCA's air traffic control tower at the time.
The airplanes and the helicopter can both hear the controller, but they can't hear each other. That's a bit of a confusion there. There are supposed to be 2 controllers, one for the helicopter and one for the airplane, so that remains to be seen. That's another point that will be subject to the investigation.